Hey everyone, we're back for episode 4 of MorphMarket in action. Today I get to talk with Gavin Adkins of Balls to You. Gavin is a leading ball python breeder in the UK. He's another veteran who's been breeding for 20 years. As MorphMarket is a global platform, we learn a lot from Gavin about the UK market. Make sure to subscribe to MorphMarket's YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And leave a comment below if you're enjoying this series and what you'd like to see next. I created MorphMarket in 2015 because I found the existing online services to be inadequate for the reptile hobby and wanted something better. Since then, it's been a crazy journey as MorphMarket has grown to become the online platform for the reptile community. Some of my best experiences have been meeting with breeders and keepers to learn how we can better serve them. MorphMarket in Action is a video series where I invite you into these conversations. Together with some amazing guests, we will dive into the platform and learn how to use it most effectively. Along the way, you'll get to meet some of our favorite people and learn from their successes. Gavin, super excited to see you online and across the ocean. It's been a few months, but it's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you planning on coming to Tenley in a few weeks here?
Yeah, so I'm going to come over again in October. That seems to be the best time for me to get over there. So yeah, and I think that everything here is more stable. We're working on our own breeders meeting / show here, which is the B2U BC B2U Breeders Club, basically. So we're kind of setting up a small Tinley style event. We had one in November. This is our second one coming up in May 27th. So I'm super excited for that. So yeah, I've got bits going on, quite a bit going on. So I struggle to get out the place.
Yeah, it's a big commitment to fly around the world. Well, Gavin, I'd just like to jump in, and I'm sure you've told the story countless times before,
Yep.
but I think it's worth a couple minutes just to hear how you got into breeding ball pythons.
I think, like anyone, there were certain morphs or combinations that we saw. And the first one that I saw that really got me excited was the bumblebee, and that was probably 2004, 2006, something like that. And that was it. Then I was hook, line, and hook, lined and sunk into the ball python. And yeah, I just started watching you guys over there on all the forums. Ralph Davis or the RDR. You got the Reptile Radio. You got Bush League Breeders Club, and I was just hooked. So yeah,
it's fun to have you guys on that have been doing this for 20 years, because I bet so many people watching have gotten into it in the last 5 years, which starts to feel like a long time. I mean, look at me. I started in on ball pythons in 2014, so that was not even 10 years ago. But I wasn't there for the heyday of the early 2000s with all the different forums. By the time I showed up, things had largely, I think, already moved to social media.
Yeah.
And that was a place where, I mean, certainly lots of community there, but also it had the pros and cons, right? It had the modern technology, the modern platform, but not something built specifically for breeders. And then the older forums were starting to dry up a little bit. But it's fun to hear you guys, the old forums and the long discussions and debates on there.
I remember. So I actually launched Balls to You in 2014. I was in the hobby, or whatever you want, industry before that, but I actually established myself as a brand in 2014. And I remember you yourself being introduced by a lot of podcasters like Sean from Exotics by Nature, who does the Bullshit podcast. And I remember there was also a Reptile Radio podcast from back in the day. Again, there was rumors of this platform that was starting up and this, that, and the other. And sure enough, it was MorphMarket. So it's nice to see everything evolve. And obviously over the years, you see things change, or you see certain trends, you see things happen. And there's a lot of great content and stuff that's been put out there. But I think the key to success in this industry is certainly to be integrated into the community. You want to help people to do better, which then in turn help you. Whether you're doing something like what you're doing or something like what I'm doing, it's that roundabout. You get that help back.
Are you full time now? And if so, or if not, how has your business or hobby evolved in the last 20 years?
I'm evolving at a slow pace. And what I mean by that is I've always been the type of person to just walk before I can run. And it's always been a massive commitment. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to step into this and do it full time. And I kind of held back a little bit because I just felt I wasn't ready. It's only now that I'm transitioning into it being full time. Literally this year will probably be, that's it. Gav's full time in the hobby, in the industry. And, you know, that's probably, well, that's definitely where I'm aiming to go. Because I just feel there's so much I can give. There's so much I can help with people, you know, in various different areas that it needs my attention. I've got to give this now. I'm giving it like 90%. I need that extra 10%, which will be the end of this year. And then, yeah, I'll be in it full time. But it's definitely evolved over the years, and it's like you see the change, and a lot of people who don't sort of go with the flow, they tend to be paddling upstream without a paddle, and you see them really struggle. So places like MorphMarket, Instagram it was good. It's getting bad with the algorithm type thing, but yeah, you've just got to keep evolving. Like I'm looking at a new platform called Vero, which is very much inspired by photography and videography, and I think that could be the next Instagram. But if you're not prepared to evolve with the change, like YouTube came along in 2006, and I remember people dropping videos in 2008 and 2010 and getting that momentum. And I saw people on the forums who didn't want to leave the forums, but there was that many keyboard warriors that came into the forums that they kind of had no option but just to come out the forums and go onto Facebook. I come out the forums and went onto Instagram. So I kind of missed that Facebook, how could we say, drama style thing, and just went straight onto Instagram, which was a great platform. So you've got to be prepared to evolve with your business, with your hobby, because if not, you will just get left behind, and then it's just so hard to catch up.
The earlier you get into these social platforms, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, it seems like in the beginning it's much easier to pick up a large number of followers. Over time, it becomes harder. And I don't know if that's because they adjust the algorithms, or perhaps it's just there's just more content, and so you're competing with more of their channels to get those follows.
YouTube is YouTube. Instagram is Instagram. When TikTok came along, all of a sudden, Instagram wanted to be TikTok, and then YouTube wanted to be TikTok. They wanted a piece of that sort of short video style platform. TikTok for me has a lot of issues and has a lot of problems. It's not monetized, as in there's so much scary stuff on there, especially if you've got children. It's crazy. So there's pros and cons, but Instagram at the moment, I do like a morning breakfast show. Try to do it every Wednesday with a friend of mine called Mac, and we discuss how Instagram has changed. You go through your reel, and the people who I'm following, I don't get to see their stuff because there's so many adverts. And I think that's what has to be very careful with platforms, is over advertisement. You can easily lose track of what's going on.
So going back to a few minutes ago, we were saying, you saw when MorphMarket was coming on the scene, and I met you. I think we started talking online around 2017. 2017 is when we launched the UK, the Europe, the EU, UK region. We go to MorphMarket and navigate to news. You did a really nice piece. If I go to filter by media, and we scroll back in time, Balls to You review of MorphMarket Europe, February 1st, 2017.
Them are the original T-shirts. I just, what, John, for me, if a product's going to work, great. I'm not the type of person to, blow smoke up a product if it doesn't really work, And when I saw MorphMarket, I was like, you know what, this is something we've been wanting and needed, and not realizing it for so long, because there was other platforms out there like you guys have in America, like Craigslist. Over here there was Pre-Loved and some other bits and pieces, but there was no real central platform for us to go meet the breeders, if you like, because obviously breeders can establish themselves on MorphMarket. There was nothing really, like a solid platform, and it was kind of a bit all over the place. So MorphMarket coming on the scene, and I don't know if you remember, there was also a platform called Reptile Ring. Reptile Ring created a lot of issues. Bless Mike Wilbanks. Not hating on Mike, but we needed consistency. And for me, when I saw MorphMarket, I was like, this is going to be big. This is good.
Well, I appreciate that. And I noticed when I was looking at this that at the time, I don't remember where I said this, but there were apparently 700 stores on MorphMarket in the United States. And so today, if we go over to stores and we filter to you can actually, you know, at that time, it was just 3 regions, the US, the EU, and then South Africa was added shortly after. Now you can choose, you know, since Brexit, you know, with your and other requests from the UK, a user can now look over all Europe like they could before, but they can drill into just the UK. But yeah, today we have almost 800 stores in the UK listing on MorphMarket. So we have more stores today on MorphMarket in the UK than we had in the US in 2017.
And I think that's important to see that, and I think it's important to understand that, you know, it's important to have the UK separate from Europe. Not that, you know, we want to be separate from Europe, but it's very difficult when the UK gets categorized, because obviously we come under the European banner before. It was very hard to make people aware that the UK has got this own little entity going on with fantastic breeders that we need to really concentrate on and sort of make the UK its own entity. I'm sort of mentoring a lot of people and helping a lot of people to become more boutique breeders, which means that the UK now has got very desirable animals and a very desirable collections and very desirable breeders. So it was important that we got the UK established and we kind of stood on our own 2 feet, if that makes sense.
How do you think MorphMarket's helped UK in the last, gosh, now that would be 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 6 years. Can't believe that.
Crazy.
6 years ago. How do you think it's helped the UK, and maybe if there's anything in particular about how the UK market is different than the US market and how that factors in?
So it's very different. I'll just start with the 2 different types. So in the US, it can be very business orientated, you know, which isn't a bad thing. But in the UK, it's very hobby orientated. MorphMarket helps combine the 2. So whether you're a business or a hobby, MorphMarket works for both platforms. It works for hobbyists, it works for the business side of things. For me, it was important as well that MorphMarket would help, like I said before, cement a breeder, because, you know, in the UK, we don't look to sell pets, we look to sell to other breeders. And if you can establish yourself on MorphMarket with a store and people can look at, oh, Gav joined in 2017 and he's got all these badges, and like I've said to you before, I think that's a little, you know, I love getting them badges, you know what I mean? I'm like, when can I get my next badge? It's that sort of thing then. So when another breeder goes on the MorphMarket to look at an animal maybe that I've got for sale, they can look through me as a person, as a breeder, if they don't know me, and go, actually, this guy's been on here since 2017. He's established himself. You know, he's got these badges, which, you know, are little things, but that they go a long way. So MorphMarket, I believe, has helped people in other countries research breeders in the UK, if that makes sense. So they can look on the store and go, oh, this guy, like I said, 2017, you know, he's got all these badges, you know, he's got, you know, people who are following him, he's got his, you know, his social medias. And straight away, if they don't know who you are, especially if they're from another country, that they may not watch YouTube, so they may not know who I am, but at least they can see then and follow the links and so on and so forth. So it's definitely worth, you know, for me, spending the time and effort investing in MorphMarket, because it's ultimately for myself.
So going back to your store page and to that point of, like, you know, having a nice looking store page, I mean, you've got an awesome logo. I love those colors. I love that red with the different yellows and greens on it. It just pops out. And of course the badges, you've got the 9 badges, you've got, you know, this is maybe the most important thing. You've got ratings, you've been doing transactions, and you've got your buyers leaving a lot of positive feedback, and you made a post in the community forum, so that shows up, and you've got listings, and now we've got some collection, which we'll get into. You know, something, Gavin, I see that you didn't make use of. Did you know that you can promote some of these ratings? You can promote them to be testimonials on your store page.
I didn't know that, no. And that's really interesting, because I know there's so much that MorphMarket can offer and show people, which is what you're doing, and this is great.
So let's do that together. That's part of what this show is about, is like just interacting and finding features and making the best use of it. So I don't know, this one, do you have any in particular? They're all so positive, it's hard to pick, but let's just pick one and see if we can promote it. Fantastic bloke. I mean, is that I guess
That's an
that's a
English
good
term.
thing.
That's definitely an English term. Yeah, fantastic bloke. I'll take that.
Okay, we'll take that. Well, that's fantastic. So let's pick that, and then so right down here at the bottom of this, we viewed the rating, and now it says other options promote as testimonial on store page. 10
Boom.
out of 10, quality animal. So you can
Wow.
actually, depending on your plan level, I think at premium like you are, you can have 3 of those. So you can go back and pick
Yeah.
some of your favorite ones out.
I think what people don't see, and this will do really well for the video, and that we want to get across to people, is that there is so much to MorphMarket that you can build in, and like we said, every little helps. Now I noticed, and this is something else I was going to ask you, John. So I noticed there's a few badges that I can get that I don't have yet. And one of them was about finding my own morph. I've got a few genes that I've found. I've tried to submit them to Wilder Ball Pythons. At the moment, they're kind of saying, oh, we can't take any more submissions because I don't know for whatever reason. Is that something that maybe MorphMarket can do?
Yeah, so you can't add it yourself. So we're looking at Mark Mandek's page here.
That's it. Traits found. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, these are from Morphpedia.
It's just recently I thought, you know what, I really need to add these to Wilder Ball Pythons because I've got my own Phantom line, which is the Black Phantom. I've got my own Calico line, which I believe is a Calico, which is the White Cider. Again, all proven. So I'm like, I need to really add these to MorphMarket. I was there thinking I've got to add them to Wilder Ball Pythons. But if you're telling me we can add them to Morphpedia.
Oh, yeah. Morphpedia is independent of World Ball Pythons, and we have, we think there's some things about our system that differentiate it from what they've done. The first of which is just the fact that we are all the time listening to feedback. Now, that doesn't mean that anybody that says they have a gene is going to get that added to the project. It does mean it's going to be considered, and we have a whole public process, which I'll show. But, just to point out a few things, something World Ball Python does really well is they have lots of combos in the system.
Yeah.
And they have thousands and thousands of combos. We felt that it would be a little overwhelming to try to add all those combos, in the beginning. So we really wanted to focus on the single genes and do them well. But we do have lots of facts associated with and they're all linked into the system. So we could click on this and go to Josh Jensen's store page. We can click here, incomplete dominant takes us back to the index, and now it's filtered down to all the incomplete dominants. We've got a lot of information, various article to article, but we have a lot of fact or history and appearance, and there's a lot. It's pretty rich. Now we do have combos. We don't list them all necessarily, but we have names of combos. We have photos of combos. So, and then we have references because we feel like Morphpedia is to be a summary, and then we want to provide those who want to go really deep with links to go deeper, and we're cite our sources, right? So let's see if I don't know if this one has it, but yeah, like here's an example. When the baby's hatched, he's ecstatic to find out, and so we've got our sources linked right here, and so this allows readers to dig deeper. It provides authority or it shows whatever authority we're using to those sources. If you go to the support.morphmarket.com site where we have all our support articles, there's a section for Morphpedia. We get to it from here as well, get help. And then there's a Morphpedia section. There aren't many articles here right now, but contributing to Morphpedia, okay, that's going to link us right into the forums where we have, what is Morphpedia, how does it work, a couple videos that explain it. And it explains what, how do we accept contributions to Morphpedia. But that's one of the cool things because actually the second video, that's where it's all about how to contribute. And let's see, how does it work? Parts of it, publication, trade art publication. This explains exactly kind of what we can publish. Because here's the thing, Gavin, even if, let's say you have a gene and maybe we can't yet tell that it's distinguishable from some other gene. So until it's sort of, there's enough evidence that it's like distinct, you can still have a Morphpedia article. It just won't be published. It won't be published onto the main site, but it'll still be in the forums here. We'll take a look in a second. And then as time goes on, there's more evidence, then it can get promoted to be published. But basically on the forums, if you go to Morphpedia area, so in the Ball Pythons category of the forums, we have an article for all of these, some of them are just aliases. And so we didn't deem that would have its own article, but it's going to redirect to one. Others would be like, here's one called Trick that's published. Something called Silver Ghost here. This article is in an immature phase right now. It's just we have some facts about it, but we haven't actually published it. So the key is you can come over here, read those guidelines. You can create a new topic and it gives you a template and you can fill it out with all your details and submit it. And then from there, we can have a conversation about it. And that's one of the beautiful things. It'd be fun if we could find one with lots of comments. Okay, the albino. So this is another thing that differentiates what we've built here. It was really important for us to be a community process and something that was very transparent that everybody could see. So here's albino, which obviously is a very old and well-established, with rich history. You can see all that we have here. But then anybody, Gavin, can come on the forums, and below that first post, the original post, there's comments. And so anybody can make a comment here, and people are dialoguing about stuff and say, hey, this is confusing, or you misspelled that, or like, I think that's wrong, or here's a photo. So this is the way the community contributes to these articles. A lot of people don't know that because it's, right now we just have it as a little bitty link, click here to contribute. That then takes you over to the article itself where, we can debate things. And I've said it before, but our goal is not to stovepipe the information into like a really clean, tidy little paragraph. If there is legitimate controversy and disagreement, we want to preserve that in the article and say, well, some people believe this and here's why, some people believe that and here's why. But people can always go in here and have a conversation about it. I love this because like the forums of the old days, those early 2000s where these rich discussions and debates, that stuff can happen here. And unlike on a social media site, it's not going to get buried and lost forever. Preserved.
Yeah, I think it's good as well because, like you said, you can go back and look over stuff. And let's face it, we didn't even know chocolate and spot nose were allelic until recently. So there is still so much we're learning that it's important to still keep those categories because ultimately we may find something else out that we go, actually, I need to add that in there. Since reading, in 2023, I found out that the Black Phantom is actually a non-bell complex. It is a bell complex, but let's just say I found out it's a non-bell complex, or it does this or it does that, but you need to keep that open because things change as we find stuff out. So it's important. I think that's there.
Maybe taking a step back and just continuing on here, you're aware of a lot of the new features on MorphMarket, which have grown it beyond just being a place where you can buy and sell. We've got Morphpedia, the knowledge base. We've got events. Now there's some events in the UK starting to pop up, I think, on there. And then there's animal management. And what we've added allows breeders to create and publish breeding plans to track their offspring. We're adding breeding activity soon. It tracks lineage, and we're going to be adding waitlisting within a week or two. So when you hear that list of features, because I know we talked about this a little bit and how useful this would be to hobbyists, what are those features are most exciting to you?
Most exciting for me is like the lineage side of things, as I've said before, and also tracking animals regarding if I have a clutch, I can pick an animal that say I want for sale. The person can click on that, and if I've entered that into the animal management, they can then see the parents without messaging me going, oh Gav, what was the pairing? But if you click it, you can actually see what the pairing was. That sort of thing. And I think that's important for me, it's all about building a platform because a lot of the hobby or the industry can be based around monetary value. But beyond monetary value, there's also time value. There's, what you put into it. Now, if we use banana as a prime example, as a morph that was, a very rich project, but all of a sudden, because everyone was producing banana, it sort of went down very quick in price. Now, there was something that sticks out in my head that Ozzy said to me. He said, Gav, everyone's producing bananas and the price is dropping, but how many people are producing, this was at the time, how many people are producing banana het clowns? And then all of a sudden your banana price doesn't go down, it actually comes back up. The reason why I'm talking about this is because it's exactly the same. So let's say, for example, I've got an animal for sale that someone else has got an exact same combo for sale, okay? And we're going to talk monetary value in this instance. Mine may be a little bit more. So why are you paying a little bit more for mine than the other person? And this is where I believe that you can then go, well, you're paying more for mine because if you look, I've got quality lineage. The animals, if you look at the parents, you can see the quality of the lineage, which means this baby wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a fluke lineage. It wasn't a fluke great looking baby. It comes from great lineage. So then you can say, well, actually, yes, other people are selling bananas at this much, but mine's got a better lineage and it looks better because the parents were better and it gives more depth. That for me is important. So I really like that ability to be able to show people the mom and dad. The lineage.
You're right. And then especially, people are complaining all the time about how many ball pythons are on the market right now. Oh, the market's crashing, so much competition. Okay, well, let's make use of the tools that are available to elevate. The last episode we talked a lot about the quality of the marketing, the branding, the photos. You're emphasizing also the information that is available to that animal. If I'm looking at two animals and all things being equal, same price, looks similar, but on one of them I can see the mom and the dad, on the other one I can't. On the one of them I have some kind of breeding history or maybe other husbandry information, versus I don't. Or I can click into the parents and, like you said, see the lineage actually came from Ozzy. That gives me a little more confidence that, well, I shouldn't be surprised this animal looks so good because I know Ozzy's choosing only the best, breeding the best. Gavin's doing the same.
Yeah.
So all of those things are little incremental steps to increase the value of your animals.
What for me I'm trying to get people to understand is, don't buy with a price tag. Yes, we can all go out there and buy, let's use a motor vehicle. We can all go out there and buy a cheap car. However, would you buy a car that's got service history and a logbook and all the relative information, you can see it's been looked after? Or would you buy a car that's kind of cheap, you don't know nothing about it, so you could drive it away from the forecourt tomorrow and the engine could blow up? You want to, for me, we always look at quality things, like buying like I said to you before about buying a dog. A lot of people want a dog with good pedigree. Well, this is what we should be doing with the animals, because for me it's important that we're working with quality, and this is what's going to separate. And I don't mean this in a negative way, but people who are just in it for the money, as opposed to people who want to do it because they enjoy it and they reap the benefits, if that makes sense.
So in order to make use of all these features, we've been talking about the breeding plans, lineage, clutches, and all that, we have to have our breeding animals in the system. And so I know recently you've added, if we go in your animal manager, not for sale tab, you've uploaded 20 of your breeders.
Yeah.
Put some pictures on some of them. So what process did you use to upload these animals? Did you just use the add button and add them one by one?
Yeah, so I'm trying to, and I don't mean this in a nasty way. The world is a very lazy place, okay? And if we can make something easy for people, then they're going to utilize it to the best of their abilities. So instead of me sat there with a laptop entering the animals, I thought, do you know what? Let me just see how easy it is to implement it with my phone. So I got my phone out, and obviously we're sort of privileged because you're sharing the screen and it's a full screen. So I wanted to try and use my phone to see how easy it could be, entering the details, snapping that picture, because it's already there, instead of taking a picture with a DSLR camera and then coming over to my PC and uploading it. And so I'm there looking and saying, right, you can be as quick or as slow as you want, but how easy is it to do with my phone? So the way I did that, some of it I did while I was in bed the one night. I was putting in some of my pairings, and again, just trying different circumstances. There was one point where the pictures are. I was in the HQ here, and I was taking pictures as I was doing it. So I literally did that with my phone just to see how quick I could actually do it. I was and obviously I've got a lot of animals, so I was a bit like, oh God, I've got to transfer them all over and it's going to take ages and this, that, and the other. So I just wanted to see for myself how easy it would be just to add these animals into the system using my phone. And yes, I went straight on, used the add button and just followed there. And then there was another section which you'll see where you click and you add the breeder. So if it's not already in your collection, you can add the breeder. It was easy, John. I'm not going to lie, it was easy.
Well, and so you've already populated a breeding plan using these the not for sale animals that in your collection. And I've shown in some previous videos how a user can get to this point. You basically can first get a not for sale animal added from the animal manager, and then you activate them by adding breeders. These are adult animals in your inventory which you haven't yet added to this breeding plan. Maybe you're not breeding them this year, and so we don't want to clutter up your plan with those animals that are going to take a season off.
So when you clicked on that, then what I found was, if I hadn't, you can see the create adult animal. So I clicked on that, and then it takes you to another box, which you've then got as you can see, your category, and then you can go in and start adding and so on and so forth. It was just so easy. So then I found that actually I was actually importing it as well as making up the breeding plan, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, is there an animal you can think of that you didn't add yet, which we could do live right here?
We'll add a male. We'll add stranger het clown.
Yeah, you don't have any males that are strangers right now. So let's say
I haven't added
we're going to add a breeder. And normally, if we already had the animals in the system, because you're going to spend an hour or two, add your 100, 200 breeders, and then every year it's very little upkeep, right? Because it's kind of a one-time cost. but you would just be adding them into your breeding plan for that year. That's just a matter of clicking then. But what you were pointing out, there's a number, we're experimenting with different ways to add animals in the system. You know, it's people from who've used it for years are thinking, well, I'm used to creating listings, right? Well, it's no longer about listings, it's animals. And so you can create animals one by one the way you've created listings, or you can import them, or there's a couple places in the site where you don't even have to go back to the animal manager, you can just create it right here. So let's create this male ball python. You said it's a stranger.
Het clown posset moray.
So we're just going to create that. And now I'm just going to jump over to the animal manager here. And so we can see that actually it just added that animal into our inventory. Under it as a not for sale animal. It marked it as public, active, a male, adult, and it extracted the traits for us. All that happened when we used that little input. Now on this the breeding plan, we can sort by least assigned, and the male we just added hasn't been paired yet. So we were like, okay, now we want to create a pairing with that male. We want to pair it to some females. So we would click add dam, and now it's going to let us choose from the active female breeders. So do you have an idea of what you might want to pair him to?
So if you just put clown, she's clown #2.
And then we just choose. All right, so now we're creating a pairing. And as you've seen, Gavin, the first thing it does, it gives you kind of a page. It's basically saying, do you want to accept this? It hasn't saved it yet. And we can make it public.
That's the other thing I like about that, John. From back in the day, I remember Ralph Davis having his hatchling record, or his sort of clutch page. And there was some, he'd list everything, but then there was some he would keep private. And again, that's not anything to hide. It's just sometimes you may not want to disclose some of the pairings you're doing because it may be something you're working on, you know. So I'd really like that feature.
Well, imagine right now you can only have one breeding plan, but soon we'll allow the user to create as many as they want. And so, you know, Mark was saying that, you know, he's already thinking about 24. I'm sure you are too. So you would be able to enter in 23, but at the same time be kind of playing around with your 24. And maybe you don't want everyone to see yet your competition to see what you're planning to breed next year. So it would make total sense to keep it private for your eyes only. And then our calculator is going to show us the potential outcomes from the pairing, which in this case are pretty straightforward, and we could just save it.
And that again is something I like. You know, you put in the bare minimum, and if there's other stuff like adding a picture, you can do that later on. You know, if you want to add a cost to her, if you feel she's worth X amount of money, you can do that later on. So yeah, I really like that.
You can click on eventually I want it to where you can click on anything and update. Like right now, if I click on the photo, it's not going to let us change the photo right here, but we can click here and it's just going to let us edit using this. We're about to update this page, the edit animal page, and make it organize it better design, and it's going to have some extra fields, including what you just said, which is like right now it just has the price. That's like a for sale price. We're going to add another value called assigned value. And so that's just your own personal, your eyes only, like, I think this animal's worth this much, independent of what you may or may not sell them for. But so you can come in here to edit that animal further if you want to. Okay, so two things. One is I just wanted to point out, we talked about recording husbandry data. So very soon we'll be adding the ability to record pairs and locks, follicle size, and that sort of thing. Initially, just on this screen, it's a very mobile-friendly screen too. We'll experiment with and find the best interface for efficient snake room recording. But I noticed on this pairing, you had already clicked on create group. So when she ovulates, that's when you would want, now maybe you experimented. I don't know if this is
so sorry, John, I didn't know what that button actually did.
It'll be better if we customize that per species, and so it knows when it's looking. The site already knows which species lay eggs and which ones don't. And we just need to have the UI reflect that. So once she ovulates, then you can start to create the group. And again, it can be public, unlisted, but you've got the parents already there. If it was dual sired, we could add another father here.
So that's interesting as well, because sometimes you don't know it's a dual sire clutch until after they've hatched, and then you're sitting there scratching your head thinking, well, hang on, how is that baby different from all them, because the one male only went in. So again, I think it's important that we are able to go in and actually there was another male in there, you know. That's why we've got this, you know, like a dual sire clutch, like you said.
So this page is one that we can incrementally update as we get more data. Like maybe now we laid eggs, and so we can enter that and save it. 60 days later, of course we can enter date of birth and lay date. 68 days later, there's offspring, and so we could say, actually I said 3-4. That's kind of a lot of bad eggs. Sorry, Gavin, that was bad. That was bad luck.
That's okay.
So let's say you got 4 males and 2 females. then it is going to create the offspring for you. So this is yet another place where animals get created within the system. And the nice part is here, we took a guess at what the likely offspring would be, right? Well, they're all going to be at least inchy. And maybe you hit the, maybe this one would be a super inchy. So we would just update that, and we could even refresh the title. And so that one's now a super inchy. Maybe this one got fire. Maybe you could tell that this one came out fire also, so we can update that. And the beauty is that you've now created animals. These animals are they're all in your inventory. They're going to be not for sale animals because you're probably establishing them and maybe didn't want to post them yet.
Yeah.
All you've got to do though, either back on this the clutch page here or in your animal manager, once you're ready for, you can upload the photos. Once you're ready, you just assign a price and then set to for sale, and now your listing is there and the lineage is there too, because you'll see the sire and dam have already been applied.
And that's something that I really like, John, because I've spoken to people about this before. There's plenty of platforms out there, and there's great, reptile tracking platforms out there, and you can have a reptile tracking software, but then you've got to go into MorphMarket. Let's say it says, oh, you can add a link here to click on, and that'll send you to your MorphMarket. I've still got to create a MorphMarket listing, so I'm almost doing it twice, if that makes sense. So I'm creating it on this software, and then I'm having to go in and create it again on MorphMarket. Where what I like about this, it's in one hit. It's done. It's like all I've got to do, like you say, is add a price and click for sale. Boom. It's on your listing. And that is something that I've spoken to a lot of breeders about here in the UK, and they're super excited about that, how it's just integrated into the platform.
That's what our goal is, to be a one-stop shop all the way from pairings to payments. We actually, working on payments as well through the site, and then even shipping. And I don't know, that could be a lot more complicated in Europe since you guys use couriers, but in the US, we can integrate with the shipping companies, and then people can order their shipping labels from their preferred companies and just print them right from our site. Don't have to visit all the different websites and services.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Is there any particular feature on MorphMarket that you really like a lot? I mean, you mentioned badges for one. You've mentioned some different things. Anything you would add?
I think for me with MorphMarket, and again, this is something that I talk a lot about, is trying to get yourself established on there. People have an opportunity to integrate with the community on there as well, which is not a shoot you down type community. If you've got any problems, any issues, you can ask for help. You can put some stuff out. It kind of reminds me of the old school good old days of the forums. There's a lot of stuff on there for me that I feel that will be a lot of use to me, but then maybe not used to someone else. And with MorphMarket, I think you can get involved as much or as little as you want. Like I said, I know it sounds silly and I go on about the badges, but for me, that just, I'm very proud of, and like I've told people to follow me on MorphMarket, and that was something else we've spoken about the followers. And if you look at my followers on MorphMarket, I'm quite proud of that, and that's something that I look at. It's really a nothing thing, and I know maybe in the future it may be something, but for me, I'm proud of the followers, and people go on and go, oh God, he's got so many followers. Again, it's there, it's for the future. There's something that may come of that, and why not build it now? The sooner you build this, it's not going anywhere, John. The platform is not going anywhere. And I'm not saying that because it's you. I dare say if you said, Gav, I'm getting out of it, I'm pretty confident I'll be over there and I'm buying it. The platform, it's that good. I won't let it go anywhere. And that for me is, if, again, just working on that shop, working on that process, keep, speaking to people, and just that little bit of the followers and the badges. I'm a bit, maybe a bit too geeky about it, but I really love it.
Well, you're not the only one. And you do have a lot of followers on here, especially since, like you said, we haven't done a lot with the followers feature yet, but we're about to. And that's what I was highlighting here. People with our new search interface, users can filter down to stores only the ones they follow. To go, and in fact, this search is actually over the ball pythons in the UK. They're for sale, and only the stores that I follow. The cool thing is, if I want these new filters, you could just click on them to remove them. So it's really easy to adjust your search filter. You can see what you're searching over. You can also clear it out from down here. We could add something here, like say, we can add our genes as well. One of the relatively new features is that by clicking on the heart, you can save a search. So I could say, followed BP breeders. And then I could say I want to get an email and mobile alerts. So whenever if you're part of the group of sellers I'm following, whenever you post a new animal, I will get an email and a mobile notification, or whichever I want.
And that's something that's really useful as well, because the amount of people that have contacted me going, Gav, when that clutch hatches, can you let me know? And that's very difficult for me to remember who messaged me, where they messaged me, what platform was it, and what was they interested in. So having the ability that someone can hit the notification bell that follows you to say, oh, the next time Gav uploads anything that's a blackhead entry, I want that notification. And again, maybe that's something that again can be integrated, as we've spoken about, that people can maybe send you a message and you can look back through your messages. Maybe it goes to a different inbox, let's say, and actually Tom messaged me and he was interested in blackhead entry. Drop him a quick message, Tom, bang, and it sort of filters them into that category. So that'd be pretty good as well.
Well, I've got good news for you, because that's exactly what we're working on right now, and it's all part of MorphMarket projects. So if you've noticed some of the recent updates to the site, we're continuing to adjust and tweak navigation, but now you can easily navigate between the different areas of the site for ball pythons. So next to listings, we have projects. And so if I click on projects, now I'm not looking at things for sale. I'm looking at projects, which includes pairings and clutches. We can immediately see if I'm looking for Inchi projects from my followed stores, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's Balls to You right there.
Yeah.
So again, and we could make it just Gavin. Okay, so there we go. And then I can save it. And so I can say, this is Inchi Balls to You projects. So now I'm going to get that same alert whenever you produce a pairing or a clutch which matches that criteria. I get the alert. Now that's half of what you were saying. That's half of it, because
that's important, John, because a lot of people, again, that feature I didn't even know existed.
It's brand new. And that's part of why we're doing these, is so we can get the word out. Yeah. But one thing you can't do right now is the projects don't differentiate between pairings versus ovulations versus lays versus hatches. But we're adding that right now. So we'll have some kind of a filter that can say what stage the project's in.
And then they would get notifications say, oh, this pairing's at an ovulation stage.
Right. Now, that's what can be done right now today on the website. But what all of our developers are working on right now is called waitlists. And that gets into the other thing, because you can't see if someone's got alerts over your, certain genetics that you're producing. But what a waitlist is going to allow is for in a week or two, is for a buyer to set up. It's like an alert, except it's something that the buyer and seller can both see. So there'll be on the side, there'll be a waitlist area, and so you'll have you'll have the waitlist that you've received, and you can accept it. And then as soon as you hatch something out, we'll be able to tell you, Gavin, you just hatched this blackhead Inchi. You have 3 people on the wait list, and then you'll be able to click and go in the messenger, like you said. It won't be an inquiry conversation. It's going to be a general conversation between you and that person, like on Facebook. And then you guys can talk. You can say, hey, I hatched it. Do you want it? And if so, then you could, then it'll turn into an inquiry that you can sell and get a rating on.
As you said at the beginning, it's that one-stop shop, and it's the feedback as a breeder, as a person that buys animals through MorphMarket or sells animals through MorphMarket. It's important that we can basically have that information, and the easier it is. Like I said, if someone clicks on my projects and goes, actually, I'm interested in an Inchi migraine, Gav, if this clutch comes to fruition, please put my name down on X, Y, and Z. So I think that's really interesting. Yes, I love that.
We've talked about different things you would like to see. Is there anything else you can think of that you would like to see added or changed on the platform?
The only thing I think for me would be the introductory. I think what would be the icing on the cake, John, would be the tracking system. Like we said, a barcode or a scanning system, a QR code. I think that would definitely be the icing on the cake, because that would then give us the ability to just use the platform from start to finish. Some people use the tracking software to track feeding. Some people use it to track sheds, to track defecation, illnesses, if that snake's not well, or when it was last treated for, maybe it's got an RI and they're giving it, a course of antibiotics. They can scan it and it was treated on the 5th of November or whenever. I think for me, the icing on the cake with MorphMarket would be the tracking software. Because the other thing that someone can do with that then, John, is if someone buys a hatchling, guess what they've now got digitally? A feeding record. When I got to a point where I was producing so many babies because I wanted to work with so many animals, I was struggling to write on the feeding cards. It took me longer to do the feeding cards than it did to actually feed the animals. I got myself into a system where with my hatchlings, I feed on the 5th day of every month. So the 5th, the 10th, the 15th, the 20th, the 25th, the 30th. So when a customer or someone would say to me, Gav, you know, how many feeds does that animal have? I'll go to the hatch date, I look at when it started feeding, and I can go, it's had 6 feeds so far. I know now that animal's ready for listing, because my thing is after 5 consecutive feeds, it's ready for listing. That doesn't mean that someone's going to bite that day. It just means that potentially that animal is ready, and maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time, that animal's then had multiple, you know, probably 7 to 8 feeds. The animal's definitely ready. So if it was digital and someone then purchased that animal and you clicked was sold to that person, maybe then if that person's got the MorphMarket store for themselves, that information then swaps into their collection, and there you've got the hatch date, the parents, the lineage, the feeding, you know, and it sort of eliminates a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the way I see us rolling this out, Waitlists, and then we're going to be adding the tracking. We'll call it basic tracking without QR codes. We're going to get payments on the site, and on the back end of payments, the natural thing to do is to transfer records. So we call that animal transfer, and you'd have the benefit of picking up all those feedings and other husbandry information, as well as being able to track the lineage across different breeders. Whereas currently, it shows lineage within your collection, but if you bought something from Ozzy, you want to point it back to his collection as well. So great thoughts on that. And we're excited to add that too.
Yeah, I think that for me would just be the icing on the cake. I'm super excited at the minute with MorphMarket, and I'm not saying it because we're discussing it, but I'm talking a lot about it with a lot of people, a lot of breeders, and I am super excited for it, making it that one-stop shop. And I just think the icing on the cake, pièce de résistance, would be that here's the feeding record, send me your email address, boom, there's the link, off it goes. Or even, like I said, if that person has a store, then straight away that animal information gets transferred into their collection automatically.
I meant to make a caveat on that. Actually, even today, anybody with a free account without a store can already be using the animal management capabilities in MorphMarket. So they wouldn't even have to sign up for a store, get it approved and all that, because they're just a keeper, and maybe they not going to sell for 3 years. So that it wouldn't even be that strict. It would be simpler than that. But
and I think that is an important note, because when I've spoken about this, a lot of people have gone, yeah, but you need a store. And I've said, actually, you don't. You can actually access a lot more than what you realize with a basic account. And it's important, because then once they see that and they use that, they actually will then go, actually, if this is the free one, what will I get if I pay for the store and do that? And all of a sudden, you've got people who now don't mind paying for a platform because they're finding it very useful, and it's there all in one spot. Like I said at the beginning, we have Google at our fingertips, and even that, sometimes we say to people, oh, have you got the number for that, that food shop down the road, or the restaurant down the road? No, I haven't, just Google it. And so making it easier for people all in one sort of hit, I think I'm excited. I'm not saying it because you're there. I am genuinely excited about it. I've sent you some crazy emails, John, we can do this, John. I'm just super excited for it, and I think it's important. We've spoken about the shed testing here in the UK, how maybe we can do some stuff. Because I do want MorphMarket to be a presence in the UK as much as it is in the States, because that's the other feedback I get. Yeah, it's mainly geared for the US, though, isn't it? No, it started there, but it's growing in other countries. And in other countries, we want MorphMarket to be its own entity in other countries. It's not just geared up for the US. Obviously, it takes time, but I think there's super things to come, definitely.
Well, they're just upset that we haven't added that one last touch, which is to call the ball python the royal python, right? That's why it doesn't feel European enough.
I was brought up through the American way, watching people like Ralph Davis, Pete Call, Kevin McCurley. So I've always called them ball pythons. And yes.
And if it's not, balls to you.
Exactly, John. And that's exactly. And I work in Fahrenheit as well, so I've got
And
it's strange.
inches.
Yeah. So it's one of them. But I'm not just saying this just about the UK, but I think the UK has always kind of been the underdog, and I think we have so much coming from this little island of ours that it's going to seriously create a ripple across the industry with what I've seen going on here in the UK. So I'm super excited.
That's awesome. Well, we love our friends all around the world, especially in the UK and among the UK. We love Gavin, and thanks for being such a big supporter and not just of MorphMarket, but of the whole industry. I know you're
100%.
championing all kinds of good causes over there, and that's beneficial to everybody. That's going to help the US. It's going to help other parts of the world as well.
Sure.
So,
I mean, you've got to support what supports you, John. That's what's important.
Gavin, thanks for taking time out of your day to meet with me today. I know our viewers are going to really enjoy this, and
Thanks
hearing
for
the,
having me.
especially the ones in the UK, getting to hear some you in the US, hear some UK perspective. So I
Yeah.
appreciate your
No.
time, and
Thanks for having me, John. I really appreciate you and the team and what you guys are doing at the minute behind the scenes. It is definitely definitely what we need.